Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
Hello and welcome to the Popternative podcast. This is the podcast where we have digital discussions from the worlds of TV, film, social media, pop culture, everything really. As always, I'm your host, Peter Remoliotis, and on Twitter, you know me as PD Beats. A show that's been taking the world by storm was dropped on Amazon Prime a few weeks ago. We're talking about Hunters, and we are speaking to a cast member from Hunters. He plays Joe. He is one of the Hunters. We are speaking to Louis Ozawa. Louis, welcome to Popternative.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to talk to you.
Well, first of all, congrats on the success, and I'm sure it's just been nonstop on your end.
It's been a pretty busy month, yeah. Not gonna lie.
And you know, for people that have kind of followed you, you've been in a lot of movies, and you've kind of worked for a while now. I believe you were in Predators, and you were in a lot of movies, but this was kind of one of your first kind of so-called big breaks. One can make an argument.
Yeah, especially in the world of TV. Yeah, I've been in some big movies like Predators and The Bourne Legacy, but you know, I've never. It's kind of amazing how I guess TV or long form series have kind of have gotten to the level of these tentpole films in terms of the exposure, in terms of the budgets and production values and whatnot.
It's crazy. So what was kind of going through your mind when you got the call after kind of the audition process and everything that you were going to be Joe in Hunters?
You know, I was so relieved because when I read the material and I read the character and I auditioned, I called my manager and my agent immediately and I said, this is the one. I have to book this, and I just don't want to have to test or go in front of somebody and then mess it up. I really hope they just offer it to me.
No, for
and
sure.
After the audition, and luckily that's what they did. And they, this is my third Amazon series, and I've been doing this for a while, so I guess my work is out there for people to see. But still, I felt so fortunate and so lucky for this to be my big television series.
And people are calling it kind of the streaming wars a little bit too, because there's so many amazing streaming services right now and so many different shows to watch on them. So it's a crazy time for actors like yourself to be part of these kind of quote unquote streaming wars, they're calling them.
Yeah, well, you know, I think this is I hope this is a new kind of chapter for Amazon too, because they've been crushing it in the comedy world. You know,
yeah, for sure.
But as far as their dramas go, I do hope this is one of their first big hits, and that we start to get some recognition for it.
I mean, it's a question you've probably been asked a lot. What was it like working with Al Pacino?
Yes. He is a legend to me. I mean, I don't mind talking about it because I absolutely idolized guys like he and Robert De Niro growing up. These two guys are the reasons they are the reason I became an actor.
No, absolutely. People also want to know, because Joe is, out of all the Hunters, you know, he's the one that means business. He's the one that's fighting. He has experience in wars and in combat. What was that kind of like? I mean, you didn't do your own stunts, I'm assuming.
I did all of my fighting in this show.
Wow.
That you're seeing that is me, yeah.
And do you think a lot of people don't realize that?
Well, you can see a lot of the shots are wide shots, and you can clearly see my face. So, yeah, that's me. Most of it's me. I mean, one of the scenes, which you'll probably can imagine if you've seen all 10 episodes, you can imagine is not me, just one stunt in particular. That would just be crazy for me to even attempt that. But everything else, yeah.
So what do we not know about? Like, what are kind of some things we don't know about stuntmen, or like do more people do stunts than we would think on movies? Like, what's that world like?
There's a distinction. This show is action heavy, but not stunt heavy, right?
Gotcha.
So, as far as my character goes,
Yeah.
if you're being, crashing a motorcycle or jumping from one building to another, that would be a stunt. But if you're shooting some guns and having a fight sequence, that's not necessarily a stunt, depending on the level of degree of difficulty. That being said, as a general rule of thumb, like in movies like The Bourne Legacy, I had to do a lot of my own stunts.
Okay.
But in television, because of the long-term nature of series and having to come back for the next episode and so on and so forth, and the quick nature of the shooting schedule, they can't afford to have their actors getting injured. So whenever they can mitigate risk, they mitigate risk.
And this is a pretty crazy take on, the World War II and Nazis. It's pretty crazy world that you guys are part of. I mean, when you kind of were reading the scripts and kind of, shooting the scenes, what was kind of going through your head as this kind of huge universe is kind of being explained to you guys and you're learning about your characters? I mean, that must have been kind of eye-openers all around.
Well, as you know, we have both the 1940s and the 1970s, and then you have scenes with Nazis and scenes with the hunters, and the scenes, Jerica's scenes, with Millie's scenes. So there's so many kind of worlds going around, and as we're privy to the scenes we shoot, but it's very hard as an actor while you're shooting just your scenes to visualize how it's all going to mesh, how these universes are going to mesh together, and if it'll work at all, So there was always that kind of feeling, but I always felt like, the studio seemed very happy with the work we were doing, and Jordan Peele's company felt very happy, and most importantly, the creator, our showrunner, had the utmost confidence, and he seemed very upbeat during the process. So, as actors, we were all off to the side being like, is this actually going to work? Are people going to dig this? Are they going to hate it? Are they going to be offended by it? But like all great work, like all great art, you have to take risks, or else you can't create anything truly original.
No, for sure. Do you kind of feel, like you mentioned Jordan Peele, and it's all over the promo of the show, executive producer Jordan Peele. I mean, do you think that's something that's kind of being used as a marketing promotional tool these days, where his movies are absolutely kind of groundbreaking and changing the game of horror? And, people might not be aware of his involvement with hunters, but kind of throwing his name on there gets people kind of curious. Have you ever thought about that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. But their mission is very strong, whether regardless of his particular involvement in our project or not, they have a very strong mission of putting out entertaining content that is also very hard-hitting in terms of social commentary and whatnot. But it's always entertaining, and it's always pushing the envelope of the genres, so to speak, right? So we're melding different genres together.
No, for sure. The melding of genres. I mean, horror has kind of come a long way. It's an amazing genre. Hunters is not necessarily horror, but there's some elements in there of it.
We definitely have some creepy elements.
Well, there's also some elements where it's just very difficult to watch. And so that's my second question. What do you think has made Hunters kind of popular with the audience? Because everyone's watching it. It seems to be a hit all across the board. What do you think has been kind of hitting stride with the audience? What do people like about it?
Well, we've got diversity, and I don't mean just by, ethnicity. Obviously, we have a lot of diversity on screen, which is unusual for a show, and it totally works. But we also have diversity in terms of older actors and middle-aged actors and young actors and everything in between. We have scenes from World War II in Europe, and we have 1970s New York. We have a little bit for everybody, but at the end of the day, it's like somehow it's all cohesive and it works together.
I'm sure it has to do with kind of, not thinking about it, but you finish season one drops, everyone's watching season one. We're still not sure about, a second season. It's very hard when a first show comes out. You're obviously all hoping that there's more. You want more. You want to be part of it. You know what I mean? I guess is it just kind of like, is that difficult for an actor sometimes when the show kind of is put out? Like, what's next type thing? You never know sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. When I started this show, I only had one child, and now I have a second child. So I'm certainly hoping from a financial perspective that we have a second season, but also I feel like Joe has a lot of unfinished business, with a show that's this big. It's a mistake to try to tie up all the storylines in season one, We've got to start with the core. We've got to start with the Murray and Mindy storyline, and we've got to start with the Jonah storyline and the Meyer storyline and the Millie storyline, and then hopefully in season 2 you'll get to see a little bit more of Joe's storyline or a lot more of Joe's storyline. It's certainly set up that way.
The way you were kind of talking about it right now kind of reminds me of the power of ensemble casts, and we're seeing a lot of shows have ensemble casts. You look at a lot of the shows, I think, like Game of Thrones, Orange is the New Black, Stranger Things. These are all shows that have a lot of cast members. Hunters is kind of up there. What do you think is making ensemble casts so popular, Louis?
I think it's the best exploitation of the medium. If you watch, some of my favorite shows like The Wire, even The Sopranos did it, Mad Men did it. It's and within the genre, even The Boys, we want to see the whole universe. If you're going to create 5 seasons, we want to see a whole universe that's created.
No, absolutely.
And the Lena Olins and the Dylan Bakers in our show, you've got to exploit them.
That's the one thing too, though, because people were talking about Dylan Baker. Oh my God, people know Dylan Baker. Like, right. I've seen Dylan Baker in many things, and a lot of people were like, "Oh, I've never seen him before." Do you find that's a misconception in the industry, though, where people are like, "Oh, like this guy must be new, or I've never seen him before," but it's like he's been working for 20 years.
Again, maybe it's a younger audience that doesn't know him, but the landscape has changed. Dylan was in so many seminal 90s, early 2000s independent films.
Yeah.
But we're in a world right now where TV is kind of dominating and people are watching less and less films, and so maybe that's the disconnect. But yeah, I mean, certainly from another actor, the opportunity to see Dylan's work, I mean, I almost geeked out as much as I was meeting, Al Pacino as I was being able to meet Dylan Baker and Lena Olin. Lena's also a legend as well.
Well, I mean, it's not really a spoiler because it happens right away, but like for people that are watching Hunters, I mean, the first scene of Hunters is probably one of the most insane things I've ever seen in my life.
So incredible, isn't it? Like,
why?
And I think people have to give props to Alfonso, the director of the pilot. He is a master at building tension. He's a master at filmmaking, and he crafted that scene. You could ask Dylan. That scene is crafted immaculately. Those moves, those camera moves are long. And a lot goes on, so they did them many, many, many times.
You mentioned it's kind of the golden age of television, which I agree. But you look at a lot of the films that were kind of released this year, and it was just incredible. And one of them that I want to talk about is Parasite. Have you seen Parasite yet? I mean, how do you come up with that?
How do you come up with a story like
Parasite?
Or how do you do any of it, right?
Well,
that's the amazing thing. Yeah.
That was groundbreaking.
How do you cast a film like that? How do you direct a film? How do you write a film like that? How do you shoot a film like that? There isn't a frame in that film that isn't just perfect. Because he's a genius and he is a generational kind of director. He's the new He's the new wave. He's the new Martin Scorsese. He's the new, yeah.
But it's just like, I haven't heard anyone say anything bad about that film. Like, that never happens. Like, I literally talked to many people. No one said anything negative about it.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty much a perfect film, right? Yeah. Yeah. Pretty close.
But it's pretty cool because you're kind of seeing like the streaming services like Amazon Prime and Netflix are a real reason, I feel like, why international cinema and international TV shows are really popular now, because people are realizing that they have access to it, so they're gonna watch it.
I think as a viewer, I'm hoping that movies are gonna come back because of that. Like, let's start curating a lot of this online content, because there's a lot of shows and we only have so many hours in the day to watch these shows. So maybe there's a way where some of the content gets whittled away and we start making more films again, because that's my first love, and I would like to be in more films as well. It's like,
what I was going to ask you. I was like, what is the ideal Louis Ozawa project? Like, what do you kind of want to work on, or have you already done the ideal Louis Ozawa project?
No, absolutely not. Man, obviously a film like Parasite, to work with Bong Joon-ho would be a dream. But hey, man, we are also talking about a year that had the Uncut Gems, right?
Dude, that movie was awesome.
Crazy
good.
Film. And
Jojo Rabbit.
Yeah, Jojo Rabbit as well. My God, Taika Waititi seems like a dream director to work with. But yes, absolutely. I'd like to see the Asian Uncut Gems, Asian American Uncut Gems, to be honest. Growing up in New York City, and there was a brief time in my childhood where my dad worked in the Diamond District.
Oh wow!
In Manhattan, and
so that movie was kind of hit home, close to home a little bit.
There was one or two times he took me to work, and I actually went into some of those back rooms and stuff like that, and it was.
So did Uncut Gems nail it then? Like, is that kind of like what it was like?
It had that grimy feel,
Yeah.
It has that feel. That movie is very highly unsettling. It's a very disturbing.
Dude, the last 45 minutes of that movie, you're literally on the edge of your seat. Like, what is going on? What's gonna happen? I was
sweating. I had to take a shower afterwards.
It was just it was a crazy year, and like Hunters is just one of those shows. I mean, there was a Super Bowl commercial for your show.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy. And you're part of that. That's nuts.
Yeah. I know. It's pretty hard for me to comprehend, because our work was done 6 months prior, and not even 6 months prior, but most of our work is day to day. We're in it, we're on our hands and feet making this thing. And the part where we start promoting the film feels very foreign in some ways to us. That's not necessarily our expertise.
No, for sure.
But there's a huge team and a huge operation behind that in helping us succeed, and we couldn't succeed without that.
What has been the reception like with your friends and family? I'm sure it's been crazy, but have you kind of been recognized at all? Yeah, people kind of flagged you down. Oh, it's Joe from Hunters. Has that happened yet?
No, because I have this beard now, and maybe that's the case. But certainly in LA, there's just billboards everywhere, and actually, the disturbing thing is some of the kids in my son's preschool saw that Super Bowl ad. Because they were all watching the big game, and all of a sudden, parents. The parents in our school were so excited to see the trailer that they didn't realize that it might not be suitable for their children to watch it.
Oh no!
So I came into school the next Monday, and all these kids were like, they're 5-year-olds or four, not even 5-year-olds. They're saying, "I saw you on TV."
Yeah, and you did something not good.
But you seem very angry. I was like, no, it's just make believe. Please don't be scared.
Man, Joe is like one of the most angry, upset characters of all time. You're so mad all the time.
Just mad all the time. So angry.
I'm sure he yells at Jonah like that would be a drinking game, eh? Every time he like.
And there are several scenes that were cut too. There's many more where I'm yelling at Jonah. But I do think that some of it is funny, like my scenes with Josh Radnor, with Lonnie. There's a bit of an odd couple dynamic that the two of us have.
Dude, he was amazing in that.
Yeah, he's incredible.
The whole cast and crew was amazing. But Louis, we'll wrap up. But thank you so much for coming on to chat about Hunters, man. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super happy to talk about it.
Absolutely, it's pretty cool because you mentioned the billboards too. I have some friends, like I'm in Ottawa, Canada, and I have some friends that are in Lock and Key on Netflix, and that's kind of a really big show right now on Netflix, kind of for a younger demographic. But it's pretty cool to see like a lot of my friends that I kind of grew up with that were kind of young coming actors, and now they have billboards everywhere for that show. Like it's awesome.
It is awesome. Yeah,
it is
so much fun. Yeah.
No, absolutely. Where can people follow you on social media to
I'm
keep
more
up
of an
to date?
Instagram guy, but you can find me on Twitter or Instagram at Louis Ozawa, LOUISOZAWA. Yeah.
And people can watch Hunters on
Amazon Prime Video.
And they should watch it because it's crazy.
And awesome. And you get to see me and
I was hoping you were going to say that.
Carol Kane and Lena Olin and Dylan Baker and Jerrica Hinton and Tiffany Boone, Josh Radnor, and how awesome is Logan Lerman?
He's amazing.
He's incredible, right? Yeah.
And shout out to Popternative alums Caleb Emery, who was here,
right.
and Christian Oliver.
Oh yeah.
Who I haven't released the episode yet, but I had the original Wolf was on the show. So
awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, no, seriously, thank you so much, man, and all the best, and congrats on the success so far. This has been Popternative, youtube.com/Popternative for previous episodes. Until next time, this is Louis Ozawa and Petey Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.